My job today is to assist you in getting from where you're sitting today to graduates. So I really like this photo of our graduates outside RCSI here on Stephen's Green, because it's a real mix of people, and that's really who we'll be talking about today in terms of my presentation. So I want you to take away with you today that it's not all about points. So in terms of getting into pharmacy, physiotherapy and medicine, there are huge, huge points. Um, so we need to manage expectations and to manage the journey towards medicine or pharmacy or physiotherapy. So the plan to always have in the back of your mind is, well, I'm going to put my all in to getting into RCSI to do pharmacy, physiotherapy or medicine. But if it doesn't go my way in 2021 or 2022, what you really need to have is a backup plan and an insurance policy to get you here eventually. And that can be through a graduate entry pathway or a mature entry pathway as well. So I'll talk about those a little bit later on, but just for the time being, I'm going to speed through what I have to give you today here in 15 minutes or less now. So you have a ton of information available to you on our website, and lots of information and links on the web, which will bring you across to HPAT, to the CAO, and to anything and everything really you could ask a question for. And you can refer back to this presentation as well. We've also got a really nice presence on Instagram, so you should try and follow us, because that kind of really keeps people engaged. And Aoife after that, and you'll probably meet her today. So some important dates. The biggest and most important date really, I think, on this day, the 5th of January, is to remember that if you apply to the CAO before the 20th of January, it'll cost you less. So if you haven't applied yet and you're still thinking about it, I'd say maybe this evening or tomorrow, get back home and sit down and put an application in. It'll cost you less, as I said, so try and get that organised. The CAO opens in November normally, so I would actively encourage people to just get it out of the way. It's very straightforward, very simple. And as I said, if you do it before January 20th, it'll cost you way less. So those are the prices at the moment for the CAO application. So it's worth your while, certainly, making a timely application. So it's really straightforward, guys. All you need to do essentially is put your name and your address in, and then a CAO number is generated for you. So within the CAO application process, you'll find a ton of information that's available to you, with really easy step-by-step guides to any of the questions that you might have, either as a parent or a guidance counsellor or a student. So most importantly, students here today, you'll be thinking, oh, the CAO, I'm a bit stressed about that. No need to be stressed. It really is easier than buying a Ryanair ticket, much easier. So look, once you've done that, you will then have a CAO number, and you have until essentially July 1st to make up your mind and change your mind about the courses you want to put down ultimately. You have 20 course choices on the CAO. So those are level 8, level 6, level 7 courses. So level 8 courses would be like RCSI's pharmacy, physio and medicine. They're all level 8 honours degrees, and they're between 4 or 6 years in duration. There are some level 8 3-year degrees around the place as well, and many of those 3-year and 4-year programs will lead on to graduate entry medicine at RCSI. So just start to think about that process. Look at the CAO help that's there for you. There's a ton of student resources here. There's also courses, a big long list of the courses and the universities that offer those courses. So keep an eye out on all the information that's there. Spend half a day researching. That's my advice, really. Along with your CAO application, if you are eligible for what's called either the HERE or the DARE schemes, this is part of your CAO application. So what is HERE? Well, HERE is for students from socioeconomically disadvantaged backgrounds. And if you are, if your income to your family is below a certain threshold, you may apply to the HERE scheme, which means that you may be entitled to reduced points places. So talk about indicators. You have to meet number 1 indicator, which is income. So your family income needs to be below 45,790 if there are 4 or less people in your family. And there are some other iterations of that, so it's important that you take the time to go through the step-by-step guides that are available through the CAO on the DARE and HERE websites to walk you through those questions and answers. We also have a DARE HERE Information Day in January, so that's an interesting one to attend if you are eligible for either of those schemes. So I'm moving straight on because it's a lot of information to go into, but just so as you're aware of it. So if my income is below a certain amount, I may be entitled to apply for the HERE scheme. And I must meet a few other indicators, a combination of which can include a medical card, a means tested social welfare payment, your school, whether it's a DESH school, whether your area is an economic disadvantaged geographical site, and your socioeconomic group. So a few of those indicators combined with income will entitle you to the HERE scheme. So the DARE scheme is for students with disabilities. Same again, if you have a disability, I would actively encourage you to seek out information on the accesscollege.ie website, which is right here. They have some great information guides and presentations and videos that you can just watch. It'll take you quite a bit of time to bring together all the documentation that you need for the HERE and DARE schemes. So certainly, if you think that you might be eligible, start looking at that today if you can, or tomorrow and the next week or so, certainly before the 20th of January. It is part of your CAO application as well, DARE and HERE. So you have some very rigid guidelines around what dates your supplementary documentation can get into the CAO by. So please make sure you adhere to those. You see here it's the 1st of March is the closing date for DARE HERE applications. So that's in terms of ticking the box saying I am applying for HERE or I am applying for DARE, and then you must supply your supplementary documentation by the 15th of March. Okay. So if you are eligible for HERE, we also have a number of scholarships which you should definitely apply for. We have the Aim High Medicine Scholarship, the Kieran Patak Pharmacy Scholarship, and the Concilio Manuke Medicine Scholarships. So there's lots of information about those on the website as well. And during the question and answer session, we can go through the technical detail on that. It's very straightforward. If you're eligible, please apply and you submit an application through the RCSI website. So on to the technical stuff. Medicine at RCSI, we have 39 places for school leavers. Most of our 39 school leavers who come through the CAO will come into the 5-year program. So how do you get into the 5-year versus the 6-year? If you have chemistry and another lab science, you will enter directly into the 5-year program. If you only have one lab science, well, then you will go into the 6-year program. The NUI matriculation requirements. So matriculation are the subject requirements that's required for any NUI college, National University of Ireland. So the 2H5s and 406s. Now those are the minimums, obviously. When you're calculating your score for points, obviously you'll need higher grades than that. But Irish, English, Maths, a science subject and a third language, they are the minimum subject requirements for all our courses and all the NUI courses essentially. As you know, the Irish, English, Maths and science subjects have to be sat in one sitting. So you have to present those exam subjects in one sitting for medicine only. Medicine is a bit of a tricky one, so you need to have your matriculation subjects in one sitting plus your HPAT. Now what you can do is if you decide to do HPAT the following year, that's fine. So you bank your Leaving Cert in 2021 and then you decide to come back the following year and take HPAT. HPAT has to be done in the year of application. The Leaving Cert you can do anytime, and as I said, you can bank it and then come back the following year and add your points to your HPAT score, and boom, you have 734 was the score this year for medicine. Very, very high. That's a supply and demand thing. It's not that you need those very high points to get in and succeed. We have determined that 480 points is the minimum points requirement to get into medicine, but because of supply and demand, the number of people who apply it means that the points are all pushed up. So this year, the points probably ranged from around 535 up to 625 in Leaving Cert points. And then in HPAT, it probably ranged from around 169 to about 226. So any combination of those two scores, Leaving Cert and HPAT, put together to give you an overall score of 734. So that is medicine in terms of the requirements for Leaving Cert. Then we have HPAT. So I'm going to really breeze over this very, very quickly because I imagine if you're in sixth year, you'll have spent quite some time looking at this and preparing. It's all about prepare. It's all about practice with HPAT. In fifth year right now or fourth year having a look at this, get your hands on the practice test workbooks. The crucial thing about HPAT really is the MCQ. So an MCQ is a multiple choice question, and you will be able to get your hands on these MCQ sheets. Access the HPAT Ireland website, and you can download and buy 5 practice test workbooks essentially. I'm just going to go back a tiny bit to show you where they are. On the CAO website, you'll see in resources, you'll find undergraduate entry to medicine. And in that undergraduate entry to medicine, you'll find a brochure which gives you a load of information on the different entry requirements for each of the medical schools in Ireland. So you need to be very careful with that because some of us have a 5-year and a 6-year, and some of us only have a 5-year. So you need to be very careful about your subject requirements when you're putting down your choices on your CAO, okay? So along with that information there, you'll also find links to buy the HPAT Ireland. So this is an MCQ. It's a multiple choice questions answer sheet. And it really is a tricky thing to get used to using. And it's all about speed. So HPAT is broken down into section 1, 2, and 3. And you'll see here, these are section 1, section 2, and section 3. You have 44 questions in 65 minutes, I think it is. And then the same, about 36 questions in 44 minutes. And so speed and timing is crucial to reading the question, reading the answer, absorbing the information, and then going with your gut and essentially coloring in with a pencil A, B, C, or D on that MCQ sheet. You have to be really careful about spending approximately a minute and a half essentially on each of those questions. And it becomes very tiring, obviously, to keep that amount of concentration going. So the more practice that you can put in with this, the better. Section 1 is the logical reasoning and problem solving, 44 questions in 65 minutes. It's worth 40%. Section 2 is also worth 40%. And then section 3 is only worth 20%. And this is the section that we found through research that people were able to improve their scores on. So I'm just going to give you a quick view of that. So if we were looking at section 3, you'd see that these are shapes and jigsaws and sequences. So you'll see here, this is a rather tricky one. If you got the answer is E, you're absolutely correct, well done. But if you didn't, don't worry, because in the question and answers in the back of the ACER manual, you'll find this huge piece of information essentially that tells you why E is the answer. So it goes through all the different iterations of why E is the answer in this case. So if you think about it, the test is going to take you 2.5 hours. The correction of it is probably going to take you about 20 minutes, half an hour. And then I'd suggest you take a break then. And then you come back to it and you'll be able to go through section 1, section 2, and section 3 and check why the answers are the answers. So all in, one test is going to take you half a day. So clearly, taking half a day away from the Leaving Cert is not something I would be advising right now. But if you're in 4th and 5th year, certainly it's something that you can really get your head around and start looking at and having a bit of fun with. that is all I am going to say on HPAT today, but obviously with the question and answer session, we'll go through some of that. Physiotherapy, we have 15 places for school leavers at RCSI. The points this year were 566, very, very high. Supply and demand again. So really have a backup plan whereby you will think about coming in later on as a graduate. There are lots of great courses out there, which I'll talk to you about in the Q&A, that you can apply for and come in through. And then once you come in as a graduate, it's a 3-year program. If you're lucky enough to get in 2021 through the CAO, it's a 4-year program. If you come in as a graduate, it's a 3-year program. Then pharmacy is a 5-year program at RCSI, and in Ireland now it's an MPharm, a master's in pharmacy. So the final 5th year, you need to be careful about this. You need to pay for the final 5th year. It's not covered by free fees, because it's a master's level 9 degree. All the level 8 degrees in Ireland are covered by the free fees scheme. So RCSI, like everywhere else, is covered by the free fees scheme, which means that essentially you come into the college and you will be required to pay a student contribution, which is about €3,000, and then some additional an IT fee, an NUI fee, and a health screening fee. And all in, essentially, if you're covered by SUSI, that will cover your contribution. So 3,890 is the bottom line in terms of coming in, but your tuition is paid for by the HEA, the Higher Education Authority. For pharmacy, it's slightly different because it is now a master's in pharmacy. So the final year, the 5th year, is not covered by the free fee scheme. So we also have a graduate entry pathway and a pharmacy technician pathway to pharmacy, which is an interesting one. So you could apply through the CAO for a pharmacy technician program. In Dublin, it would be in TU Dublin. You'd go into the 2-year certificate, level 6, as a pharmacy technician. Then you'd work for a couple of years, and then once you turn 23, you can apply and come in straight into our 5-year pharmacy program based on your pharmacy technician level 6 certificate. So that's an interesting one to keep an eye on. So anybody else who's out there and applying to us from other places in Europe, you're very welcome today. You will supply all of your school data to the CAO, and once the CAO has that, we will review it and we will provide you with a points equivalent score. So don't worry about any of those issues that you might have along the pathway, but just get in touch with us with any questions about that or at the Q&A. So the offers in 2021, we hope, will be in August. They were a little bit delayed this year. They were September. You have round 1 offers, and generally speaking, round 2 and round 3. So it doesn't all end after round 1. There are possibilities of entering into some courses after round 2 and 3, and in some other places they will fill much later on. So it's no harm to keep in touch with us and to drop us a mail if you're wondering where am I on the wait list or anything like that. We're happy to talk to you about, you know, what are the next steps and what might I do if, you know, I've been offered X course, will this help me to get in as a graduate later on? So those kind of questions, we're really happy to talk to you about. My last words would be really strategic in your CAO choices, have a backup plan, remember the graduate and mature entry pathways to medicine, pharmacy and physio, and the pharmacy technician pathway as well. And just come and join us at the question and answers, and we'd be delighted to take any questions that you have there. So all the best and keep in touch, and thank you very much.